First Contact and the Diplomatic Dance. The massive station known as the Nexus hung in space like an impossibly intricate snowflake, its crystalline structure refracting starlight across 1,000 prismatic surfaces. At its core, the Galactic Conclave, an alliance of 27 spacefaring civilizations, gathered to debate the most pressing matter in recent memory: the unexpected arrival of humans on the interstellar scene. Ambassador Kira Chen stood at the viewport of the approaching Earth vessel Harmony, watching as the station grew larger. Despite the confidence she projected to her team, her heart raced. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 years ago, stumbling upon the principles of gravitic folding when examining unusual radiation patterns near Neptune. Their rapid advancement had caught the attention of conclave observers, who had been monitoring Earth for decades. "Remarkable architecture," commented Dr. Elijah Santos, the xenobiologist standing beside her. "Unlike anything our engineers could conceive." Kira nodded. "That's precisely why we're here, Elijah. To learn, to share, and hopefully to join them." She adjusted her formal diplomatic attire, a subtle blend of traditional Earth styles with elements that research suggested would be interpreted as respectful across multiple species. "Let's just hope they're willing to accept us, military history and all." The Harmony docked with a gentle shudder. As the airlock cycled, Kira studied the small delegation awaiting them. The tall, willowy figure at the front could only be High Mediator Talassi of the Varine, the current chair of the Conclave's diplomatic assembly. Behind her stood representatives of at least 6 other species, their body language, even across the vast gulf of evolutionary differences, communicating varying degrees of curiosity and wariness. Ambassador Chen, Talassi's translator, rendered her melodic tones into English. "The Conclave welcomes Earth's representatives. May this meeting foster understanding between our civilizations." Kira stepped forward and performed the greeting gesture her team had practiced for months. "High Mediator, we are honored by your acceptance of our delegation. Earth extends its hand in friendship and hopes for cooperation that will benefit all sentient life." As they moved through the station toward the assembly chambers, Kira noticed how other aliens reacted to their passing. Some displayed obvious curiosity, others withdrew slightly. The Ixthid representative, a being composed of interconnected crystalline nodes floating in formation, moved closer to examine them. "Your species generates significant thermal radiation," it observed through its translator, "and your facial features shift constantly. Most unsettling." Kira smiled diplomatically. "We regulate our body temperature differently than many species, and our expressions communicate our emotional states. It's how we connect with each other." "Precisely the concern," rumbled a massive, armored being that Kira recognized as a Dromari war philosopher. "Humans conceal and reveal simultaneously. Your history speaks of thousands of years of conflict. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation. Now you smile and speak of peace." The gathering in the Grand Assembly Chamber was unlike anything Kira had experienced. Representatives from dozens of species occupied seats designed for their unique physiologies. Some floated in containment fields, others rested in pools of bubbling liquid. The acoustic properties of the chamber somehow allowed all to hear clearly, despite the variety of sensory organs present. High Mediator Talassi formally introduced the human delegation, and the real negotiations began. "The human request for observer status is unprecedented," stated Elder Krovan of the Yzeridian meritocracy, his scaled skin shifting patterns of blue and gold. "No species at their technological level has been granted such access. They have barely achieved interstellar travel. Yet they discovered gravitic folding independently," countered a representative of the Jeteri communion, a species resembling elegant insectoids. "Their scientific progress outpaces their societal development, a concerning imbalance." For hours, the debate continued. Kira and her team answered questions about Earth's political structures, environmental policies, and cultural diversity. But always, the discussion returned to one issue. "Your species still maintains military forces, observed the Dromari representative. Your nations still compete for resources and influence. The conclave has enjoyed 15 millennia of peace. Member species have evolved beyond physical conflict. Kira stood to address this directly. Respected members of the conclave, we don't deny our history or our nature. Humans have fought wars, yes. We've made terrible mistakes, but we've also created art that captures the beauty of existence, music that expresses the inexpressible, and scientific advances that improved life for all our people. She gestured toward her team. We are diplomats, but we understand conflict. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. This duality isn't a weakness, it's our strength. We believe peaceful cooperation is the path forward, but we also know that life in this universe can be unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. The chamber fell silent. Then, a being composed entirely of swirling gases spoke through its mechanical interface. The human speaks truth. The protected worlds on the outer rim would not exist if the conclave had not maintained defensive capabilities. Tilasi raised a slender hand. Perhaps a demonstration of human problem-solving would be informative. The Minerva colony in the Ta Ceti system has reported unusual energy fluctuations in their planetary core. Our analysts are puzzled. Ambassador Chen, would your team be willing to examine the data? Kira nodded, recognizing both the test and the opportunity. For the next several hours, her team worked with the conclave's scientists, examining the readings from Minerva colony. Dr. Santos noticed patterns that the conclave's algorithms had missed, while their chief engineer suggested a solution involving targeted gravitational pulses to stabilize the fluctuations. As they worked, an urgent communication arrived from the colony itself. The fluctuations had intensified dramatically, causing groundquakes that threatened the colony's containment fields. The situation appears to have escalated beyond predictions, stated the Ixthid representative calmly. We should begin evacuation procedures. The colony was always an experimental outpost. Kira studied the new data, then exchanged glances with her team. These aren't natural fluctuations, she said. There's a pattern here. Someone or something is deliberately destabilizing the planetary core. The Dromari representative dismissed this. Preposterous. No known entity would attack a conclave colony. No known entity, Kira emphasized. But the universe is vast. We humans learned long ago that assuming we know everything is the first step toward disaster. High Mediator Tilasi tilted her head in consideration. What would humans do in this situation, Ambassador? We'd investigate immediately while preparing for both peaceful contact and potential conflict, Kira replied without hesitation. Those colonists need help now, not debate. The assembly erupted in discussion, with many representatives arguing against hasty action and militaristic responses. As Kira watched the methodical, cautious deliberations, she realized with growing concern that the conclave's 15 millennia of peace had perhaps come at a cost, the loss of urgency when faced with crisis. She turned to her communications officer. Contact the Harmony. Tell Captain Reed to prepare for immediate departure to Minerva colony. Ambassador, warn Dr. Santos quietly. That would violate conclave protocols. We haven't been granted permission to intervene. Kira looked around at the continuing deliberations, then at the urgent data still streaming in from the endangered colony. Sometimes, Elijah, you have to ask forgiveness rather than permission, especially when lives are at stake. She approached High Mediator Tilasi and spoke quietly. With respect, High Mediator, Earth is willing to provide immediate assistance to Minerva colony. Our vessel can reach them in under 6 hours at maximum fold. Tilasi's expression was unreadable to human eyes. The Assembly has not reached consensus on intervention, Ambassador. Those colonists don't have time for consensus, Kira replied firmly. We're offering help, not challenging conclave authority. After a moment's consideration, Tilasi nodded subtly. As an observer delegation, your movements are not yet restricted by conclave protocols. What your vessel does independently would be. noted but not prohibited. It was all the permission Kira needed. As the assembly continued its deliberations, she discreetly instructed Captain Reed to proceed to Minerva Colony at maximum speed. "This is why they fear us," Dr. Santos observed as they watched the Harmony depart from the station viewport. "We act while they deliberate." "And maybe," Kira replied, watching the ship disappear into folded space, "that's exactly why they need us." When diplomacy fails, humanity rises. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the Harmony, reviewing the sensor data from Minerva Colony. The situation was deteriorating faster than anyone had predicted. Ground quakes had already damaged 3 of the colony's 7 habitat domes, and the atmospheric processors were failing. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the urgency evident in his eyes. "We're approaching Minerva system," reported his navigation officer. "Estimate arrival in 27 minutes. Colony communications are sporadic. They're experiencing power fluctuations." Reed nodded, mentally reviewing his options. The Harmony was primarily a diplomatic vessel, but like all Earth ships, it maintained significant defensive and rescue capabilities. Humanity hadn't survived its turbulent history by sending unprepared vessels into the unknown. "Deploy reconnaissance drones as soon as we enter the system," he ordered. "I want detailed scans of those energy fluctuations, and prepare the emergency response teams, full environmental suits, and tactical gear." His second-in-command, Commander Nadia Volkov, raised an eyebrow. "Tactical gear, sir." The Conclave report mentioned nothing about hostiles. The Conclave report dismissed the possibility entirely, Reed replied. "But something is causing those energy patterns, and it's not planetary tectonics." Better prepared than surprised. The Harmony dropped out of folded space at the edge of the Minerva system, immediately deploying its sensor array. What they discovered confirmed Reed's suspicions. The energy fluctuations were concentrated at specific points around the colony, creating a resonance pattern that was destabilizing the planetary core. "Those are artificial signatures," stated the science officer. "Someone is attacking the colony." Reed's expression hardened. "Scan for vessels or installations that could be generating those patterns." "Nothing in orbit, sir," reported the sensor operator. "But we're detecting unusual structures on the far side of the planet. They appear to be ancient, partially buried in the surface. They're the source of the energy pulses." "Ancient structures." Commander Volkov frowned. "The colony was established only 15 years ago. The Conclave surveyed the planet thoroughly." "Obviously not thoroughly enough," Reed replied grimly. "Open a channel to the colony." The view screen flickered to life, showing the harried face of the colony administrator, a J. Terry named Viridian. The image was unstable, breaking up intermittently. "Earth vessel. The Conclave sent you." The administrator's translator rendered his clicks and chirps into English. "We're here to help," Reed assured him. "What's your situation?" "Critical. 3 habitat domes compromised, power systems failing. The ground quakes are increasing in frequency. We've lost contact with our research outpost on the southern continent. Something has awakened beneath the surface. Machines, ancient technology. Our scientists believe the planet was once home to a civilization that destroyed itself millions of years ago." The transmission broke up, then stabilized. "We need evacuation, but our ships were damaged in the initial quakes. We have 400 colonists, including 70 juveniles. Hold position and conserve power," Reed instructed. "We're coming to you. Prepare your people for emergency evacuation." As the Harmony moved into orbit, the sensors provided more detail about the ancient structures. They appeared to be automated defense systems, dormant for millions of years until the colony's deep mining operations accidentally triggered them. The Conclave mentioned nothing about ancient technology, Commander Volkov noted. "Because they didn't know," Reed replied. "This is why we don't just send scientists and diplomats into space. The universe is full of unknowns, some of them dangerous." The rescue operation began immediately. Shuttle teams descended to the colony while Reed coordinated with the remaining Conclave security forces on the ground. But as the evacuation proceeded, the ancient defense systems escalated their attacks, now targeting the Harmony directly with energy pulses from the surface. Shields holding at 82%, reported the tactical officer. But they're adapting. Each pulse is more precisely calibrated to our shield frequency. Reed made a quick decision. Prepare a surface team. We need to neutralize those defense systems, or we'll never get all the colonists out. The Conclave protocols strictly prohibit military action on protected worlds, Volkov reminded him, and I'm strictly interested in saving lives. Reed replied, I'll lead the team myself. Within 20 minutes, Reed and a team of 12 specialists had landed near the largest energy source. What they found was staggering. A vast underground complex of machines, still functioning after millions of years. At its center, an artificial intelligence core had awakened, perceiving the colony as an invasion force. It's defensive in nature, observed Lieutenant Han, their technologist, designed to protect this world from something. Captain, these systems are millions of years beyond even Conclave technology. Can we communicate with it? Reed asked. I'm trying, but its language constructs are unlike anything in our databases. It's not responding to standard peaceful identification protocols. A sudden energy surge knocked them backward. The defense system was ramping up for a planet-wide pulse that would destroy not just the colony but the Harmony as well. Options, Reed demanded. We could attempt to overload the core, suggested Han. But someone would need to remain to manually trigger the sequence. The radiation would be lethal. Reed studied the ancient machinery. Then, in a decision that would later become legendary throughout the Conclave, he approached the AI core directly. Instead of attacking it or retreating, he set down his weapons and stood before its sensors, palms forward in the universal gesture of peace. We mean no harm, he said clearly, knowing the AI probably couldn't understand his words but might comprehend his actions. We are helping, not invading. He activated his portable data terminal and displayed images of the evacuation. Humans helping Jeteri juveniles into shuttles, medical teams treating injured colonists, engineers working to stabilize habitat domes. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, remarkably, the energy pulses slowed. The AI was observing, analyzing. Lieutenant Han checked her readings in disbelief. It's learning, adapting its threat assessment. Reed continued showing images of cooperation, rescue, and protection. We're not so different from whoever created you, he told the ancient guardian. We protect our own too. Gradually, the defense systems powered down. The AI had somehow recognized the difference between invasion and rescue, between threat and aid. But as the last colonists were evacuated, sensors detected a new problem. Captain, the planetary core has been destabilized beyond recovery, reported Han. We have less than 2 hours before catastrophic failure. Reed looked at the ancient complex with regret. Send all data to the Harmony. This civilization's legacy shouldn't be lost again. He turned to his team. Evacuate immediately. Back on the Harmony, Reed watched through the view screen as the planet began breaking apart. The final death of a world that had outlived its creators by millions of years. All colonists and his entire team had been successfully evacuated. When they returned to the Nexus, the Conclave Assembly was waiting. To Reed's surprise, instead of censure for his unauthorized intervention, they requested a full briefing on the ancient technology and the methods used to neutralize the threat. You took significant personal risk, observed the Dromari war philosopher, standing unarmed before an unknown intelligence that had already demonstrated hostile intent. Sometimes the greatest strength is showing you're not afraid, Reed replied, and that you're willing to try understanding before resorting to force. High Mediator Tilasi studied the humans with new interest. The Assembly has reviewed your actions at Minerva Colony. While your methods were unorthodox by Conclave standards, the results speak for themselves. All colonists saved, valuable data recovered, and a threat neutralized without unnecessary destruction. Kira Chen stepped forward. This is humanity, High Mediator. We prepare for conflict but prefer peace. We're ready to fight if necessary, but we'd rather communicate. We smile as diplomats, but when provoked, we'll do whatever it takes to protect innocent lives, even risk our own. Talasi turned to address the full assembly. Perhaps what the conclave needs is not another species that thinks as we do, but one that thinks differently. One that remembers what many of us have forgotten, that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but something that sometimes must be actively defended. The vote that followed was not unanimous. Several species still expressed reservations about humanity's inclusion, but it was decisive. Earth would be granted observer status, with a path to full membership in 5 years if certain conditions were met. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with the news, Elder Krovan approached Kira privately. "Your Captain Reed puzzles me, Ambassador." He commanded a military response, yet chose personal risk over violence when facing the ancient guardian. Is this typical of humans? Kira considered the question carefully. At our best, yes. We contain multitudes, Elder Krovan. We're scientists and soldiers, poets and pragmatists. We plan for war while dreaming of peace. Some see this as contradiction, but we see it as completion. The Elder's scales shifted in thoughtful patterns. The conclave has maintained peace for 15 millennia by avoiding conflict. Perhaps we have forgotten that sometimes peace must be actively chosen, again and again, even in the face of threat. That's the most human thing you could say, Kira replied with a smile. Maybe we're not so different after all. As the Harmony departed from the Nexus, carrying news that would forever change Earth's place in the galaxy, Kira stood at the same viewport where she had first glimpsed the massive station. The universe ahead was vast, filled with wonders and dangers in equal measure. But humanity was ready, smiling in friendship, extending hands in peace, yet prepared to stand firm when necessary. They would join the stars not as conquerors or as supplicants, but as they had always been, contradictory, complex, and uniquely themselves. "We're ready," she whispered to the stars. "Ready to learn, ready to teach, ready to stand with you against whatever comes next." And somewhere in the depths of space, as if in answer, the light of countless stars shimmered back.